This morning, we're remembering a one-of-a-kind voice in American music, Little Richard, a pioneering performer who helped rhythm and blues become rock and roll. He died Saturday after battling bone cancer. Little Richard was 87. With the unforgettable opening lyric to his smash hit Tutti Frutti, Little Richard crashed the pop charts like a force of nature in 1956. No one had ever heard anything like him. Including a young man who'd later find fame with Creedence Clearwater Revival. John Fogerty got to perform with Little Richard at the Grammys in 2008.
I felt that his voice had the ultimate rock and roll tone, you know, that grit, that edge that he sang with.
Born Richard Penniman in Macon, Georgia, as Little Richard, he developed a high-energy stage act.
He was just over-the-top, wild, flamboyant.
The Black Keys' Dan Auerbach.
If you ever liked the flamboyance of rock and roll, then, you know, you owe all that to Little Richard.
Producer Quincy Jones hailed Richard as an innovator whose influence is seen in genres from gospel to hip-hop. Raised in a religious household, Richard was 19 when his bootlegger father was killed, leaving him to reconcile his love of God and his attraction to men. He spoke to 60 Minutes' Ed Bradley in 1985.
But there must have been a terrible stigma attached to that in Macon, Georgia in those days.
Oh, I was called everything but a Reuben sandwich. Oh, God. Oh, it was. People wanted to knock me down.
When he first started touring in the mid-1950s, he told Rolling Stone magazine he faced such severe racism, he was forced to sleep, eat, and dress in his car. But ultimately, he said, his shows started bringing black and white audiences together.
Well, everywhere I would go in the South, Alabama, North Carolina, Kentucky, Mississippi, Arkansas, they started just falling in line, you know, with my music.
Little Richard would call himself the innovator, the originator, and the architect of rock and roll. It was no exaggeration.
I would say, you know, you boys and girls out there, if you ever dare to try and do rock and roll, you better go look up Little Richard and see how it's done.